Millions of people around the world typed the same two words into Google at the same time, across different countries, different languages, different time zones. Jimin BTS. And what Google's data revealed about those searches is something that even the most seasoned analysts in the K-pop industry weren't fully prepared for. Because this wasn't a gradual climb. This wasn't the kind of slow, organic growth that happens when an artist quietly builds momentum over months. This was a spike, a vertical line on a graph that made people stop and stare at their screens. But here's the part that nobody is talking about. The countries where the search surge was biggest, the regions where Jimin BTS suddenly exploded as a keyword, are not the countries you would expect. They're not the usual suspects. And when you look at the data carefully, when you trace where these searches are coming from and why they're happening now, a picture starts to form that goes far beyond comeback hype. There's a reason the algorithm keeps pushing Jimin to the top, and it has nothing to do with luck. Stay with me until the end of this video, because the full picture is more interesting than the headline. Hello everyone, welcome back to this channel. If you're the type of person who wants to understand why something is happening, not just that it's happening, you're in the right place. Subscribe and hit that notification bell, because this is exactly the kind of content we break down here, consistently and without the fluff. Now, let's get into the data, because the numbers tell a story that words alone can't capture. To understand why this Google search surge matters, we need to establish some context first. Google Trends is one of the most reliable real-time indicators of public interest in the world. Unlike social media metrics, which can be influenced by algorithm boosts, advertising spend, or coordinated fan campaigns, Google search data reflects something more raw and more honest. It reflects what people are actually curious about, at the exact moment they become curious about it. When someone opens Google and types a name, they're not performing for an audience. They're not trying to show support or boost a metric. They're genuinely looking for something. They want to know more. They want to understand. They're pulled by something they saw, heard, or felt, and they're following that pull directly to a search bar. That's why a surge in Google search data is different from a surge in, say, Twitter trending topics or YouTube views. Those can be manufactured, at least partially. A Google search spike is the closest thing we have to a direct window into genuine public curiosity. And in the weeks leading up to the BTS comeback, the keyword Jimin BTS didn't just trend, it surged in a pattern that data analysts who track K-pop search behavior described as genuinely unusual, even for BTS standards, which have historically set the benchmark for what unusual looks like in this industry. The timeline of when this started, which countries it spread to first, and how the pattern developed, that's the story we're going to trace right now. The surge didn't begin all at once, it built in layers, and understanding those layers is key to understanding what's actually driving it. The first detectable uptick in Jimin BTS searches appeared in Southeast Asia, specifically in Indonesia, the Philippines, and Thailand, before the BTS comeback announcement was even officially confirmed. This is significant. It means the initial wave of curiosity wasn't triggered by a press release or a Netflix announcement. It was triggered by something more organic: rumors, fan speculation, and the quiet circulation of information through tight-knit fan networks. In other words, ARMY sensed something was coming before the official word arrived, and they started searching. Within days of the official announcement dropping, the search pattern changed dramatically. What had been a regional phenomenon in Southeast Asia became global almost overnight. The keyword Jimin BTS began trending in South America, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, simultaneously. Then it appeared in Western Europe, then North America, then parts of Africa and the Middle East that don't typically appear in K-pop search data at all. By the time Google Trends data was being widely screenshotted and shared across fan communities, the graph looked less like a wave and more like a wall, a near vertical climb that compressed weeks of momentum into what appeared to be a single explosive moment. But the most important question isn't how big the spike was. The most important question is, who is doing the searching? And this is where the story gets genuinely fascinating. And this is the part that most coverage of this story has completely glossed over. When analysts break down search data not just by location, but by the associated search terms, the other keywords that people type before or after Jimin BTS, a very specific pattern emerges. A significant portion of the search traffic isn't coming from existing ARMY members looking for comeback updates. It's coming from people who appear to be encountering Jimin for the first time or re-encountering him after a long absence. The associated search terms tell the story. Who is Jimin BTS? Jimin BTS age? Jimin BTS songs? Jimin BTS solo? Why is Jimin trending? That last one is particularly telling. Why is Jimin trending is not a question an ARMY member asks. It's a question someone asks when they notice something, a clip, a meme, a reaction video, a mention in a non-K-pop context, and they want to understand what they just stumbled into. These are new eyes, new ears, people who are arriving at the Jimin conversation not because they were already in it, but because the conversation found them. And that distinction matters enormously, because it means the search surge isn't just a measurement of existing fan excitement, it's evidence of genuine organic reach expansion, the kind that no marketing campaign can reliably produce, and the kind that every artist's team dreams about. Jimin isn't just trending among people who already love him, he's trending among people who are just now finding out he exists. But wait, because there's a layer underneath this that almost nobody has stopped to examine. Why now? Why is this expansion into new audiences happening at this specific moment, right before the comeback? What is the mechanism that's pulling in people who weren't previously part of the conversation? The answer, when you trace it back, points to something that has been building quietly for months, and it's not what most people would assume. It's not a single viral moment. It's not one specific clip or performance that suddenly blew up. It's something more structural than that. Over the past several months, Jimin has accumulated a series of what data people call touch points across completely different online spaces. A clip of a performance appears in a dance appreciation community that has nothing to do with K-pop. A sound from one of his songs gets used in a viral video format. A comment about him in a music theory discussion thread gets thousands of upvotes from people who weren't already fans. A reaction video from a creator outside the K-pop space introduces him to an audience that has never engaged with this genre before. None of these individual touchpoints is massive on its own, but together they create something powerful. They plant seeds across dozens of different online communities simultaneously. And when the comeback announcement arrives, when there's suddenly a concrete reason to search, a specific event to look forward to, all of those seeds sprout at the same time. That's what a search surge built on genuine cultural penetration looks like. It's not a single explosion. It's the simultaneous activation of months of quiet organic growth. And that is significantly harder to engineer than most people realize. Let's go even deeper, because this pattern doesn't exist in a vacuum. To fully appreciate what the Google search data is telling us, it helps to understand something about how Jimin has operated as an artist over the past couple of years, specifically the way he has approached his relationship with audiences beyond the existing ARMY base. Jimin has never been someone who explicitly chases mainstream crossover. He doesn't reshape his artistic identity to fit what's commercially safe or algorithmically optimized. He makes choices in his music, in his performances, in how he presents himself publicly that are guided by artistic instinct rather than market strategy. And paradoxically, that authenticity is exactly what creates genuine crossover. Because audiences outside of established fandoms are extraordinarily good at detecting performance. They can tell when an artist is trying to appeal to them versus when an artist is simply being themselves in a way that happens to be compelling. The former makes people scroll past. The latter makes people stop, watch, and then open Google to find out more. The search data we're looking at right now is the measurable evidence of that second thing happening at scale. People outside the K-pop world are encountering Jimin through various channels, recognizing something genuine in what they're seeing or hearing, and following their curiosity. That's not something you can manufacture. That's something you can only earn, slowly, over time, by consistently being the kind of artist who gives people a real reason to be curious. And here's what makes the timing of this so significant. It's all converging right before the comeback. All of this new attention, all of this fresh curiosity, all of these new eyes and ears arriving at the Jimin conversation for the first time, they're going to encounter him at a moment when he's stepping back onto the world stage with BTS. They're going to see him at what promises to be one of the most high-profile performances of the year, streamed globally on Netflix. The first impression these new audiences get of Jimin will be shaped by that stage, that moment, that performance. That's an extraordinary position to be in. And now we arrive at the part of this story that I think carries the most weight. Search data is numbers, graphs, percentages, and numbers on their own are cold. They tell you what happened, but they don't tell you what it means. What it means, underneath all the data, underneath all the analysis, is this. Jimin has spent years doing the work. Not the work that gets immediate validation, not the work that trends on the day it's released and then disappears, but the slow, patient, unglamorous work of building something real, an artistic identity that is genuinely his own, that cannot be easily replicated, and that resonates with people whether they are lifelong ARMY members or people who typed his name into Google for the very first time today. And now, right before one of the most watched moments of his career, the world is paying attention. Not because a campaign told them to, not because an algorithm decided to boost him artificially, but because something accumulated, quietly, consistently over years, and reached a tipping point that Google's data is now reflecting back to us in real time. There's something deeply moving about that, if you think about it for a moment. Because Jimin has talked in various interviews over the years about his fear of being forgotten, about the anxiety that comes with wondering whether the work is reaching people, whether it matters, whether it lands. That vulnerability has always been part of what makes him compelling as an artist. His willingness to care openly, to admit that the response of his audience means something to him. And now, in the weeks before his comeback, people across the globe, people who have never watched a BTS video, people who stumbled onto a clip by accident, people who are just now learning how to spell his name, are typing his name into Google. They're looking for him, and he's about to give them something worth finding. So here's my question for you, and I mean this genuinely. What do you think is the one thing about Jimin that makes people who have never been K-pop fans stop and pay attention? What is it that translates across language, across culture, across the boundaries of genre and fandom, and makes someone who knows nothing about BTS open a search bar and want to know more? I have my own answer to that question, but I want to hear yours first. Write it in the comments, because this community has some of the most thoughtful perspectives I've encountered anywhere online, and a conversation like this deserves more than just one point of view. And if this video helped you see the comeback through a different lens, if it gave you something beyond just excitement, something closer to understanding, share it. Not for the numbers, but because somewhere out there there's someone who just searched Jimin BTS for the first time today, who is trying to understand why they suddenly can't stop thinking about him. Maybe this video is exactly what they need to find next. That's everything for today. Thank you for watching until the very end. The comeback is close, and the world is ready. See you in the next one. Purple You.